What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and we're back with another look back video, and today we're looking back at everybody's favourite UFC Undisputed. Now this game was released the 14th of February 2012, developed by Ukes and published by THQ, arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest UFC game ever released. Do you remember 2012, guys, when everything was good? Life wasn't a total shit show and we were all miserable. 2012 was the last time any of us were truly happy. I honestly believe it. That 2012 and Pokemon Go were the last time was the closest we were ever to world peace. Anyways, this game released onto the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, never to see any other console again, sadly. Like, never remastered, never like transferred over. This game was years ahead of its time, and I genuinely mean years. Now, when you load up the game originally, like when you first get it, and you got the, of course, the Undisputed games always had like some kind of music or scene. Undisputed 3's was this. Then, of course, we met with the main menu of the iconic Anderson Silva to Vitor Belfort kick to the fucking face. And then, obviously, we see, we have our menus. But let's start today with Exhibition. Now, when you load up Exhibition, you have a choice of UFC and Pride. For now, we're going to start with UFC, which is, of course, your standard UFC rule set. 3 or 5 rounds, different venues, different refs. Obviously, on the right-hand side there, we see that you have Pride, which is truly amazing, unique. It's 2 or 3 rounds, 10-minute starting rounds, Saitama Super Arena, allowing things like soccer kicks, grounded knees, no elbows. However, we're going to start with the UFC rule set for this video. Now, when this game dropped, the current champions were Junior Dos Santos, John Jones, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Frankie Edgar, Jose Aldo, and Dominic Cruz. This was the first game that had the bantam and featherweight division, because when this game came out, the UFC had merged with the WEC, whereas before, in Undisputed 2010, it had not. This game also had brilliant fighters like Uriah Faber, Demetrius Johnson, Joseph Benavidez, Scott Jorgensen, Brad Pickett, Henan Barral, Florian, Chad Mendes, Mike Brown, Cub Swanson, Gray Maynard, Sean Shirk, the steroid machine, Clay Guida, Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, Takanori Gomi, BJ Penn, Nate Diaz, Josh Koscheck, Carlos Condit, Matt Hughes, Dan Hardy, Vitor Belfort, Charles Sutton, Vonderlei Silva, Michael Bisping, Dan Henderson, Rich Franklin, Rashad Evans, Rampage Jackson, Shogun Hua, Latoya Machida, Tito Ortiz, Forrest Griffin, Chuck Liddell, Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, Chet Congo, Mirko Krokop, and so many more. This game was, the crazy thing about this game is 2012, you could argue a lot of fighters in the top 10 were in their prime or had only just left it or were now starting. If you think light heavyweight, you had Bisping, Henderson, Franklin, Evans, Rampage, Shogun, Machida, Toito, Griffin, Liddell, as well as the reigning champion at the time, John Jones. Now, one thing you might notice when scrolling through the roster is the champion will have the belt above his rating. However, the former champion has a faded belt in the same place, which I thought was a really nice touch for those who, like, maybe had just got into UFC and they're like, oh yeah, I know him, he was a former, oh yeah, look, he's the former champ, he's the former champ. And I thought it was just a nice little touch. However, when you go over to the Pride mode, while you still can use the UFC roster in the Pride mode, there is a separate Pride roster in this mode. But obviously, as it's Pride, it is less weights, which are lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. There was no light heavyweight, there was no featherweight, there was no bantam. That's just the way they done things. I mean, lightweight only had 3 fighters. You will see some fighters in here like Vonderlei Silva, Dan Henderson, Anderson Silva, who competed in both UFC and Pride, but then we see fighters who have either never fought in the UFC or have fought in the UFC many, many years ago. Just for example, Royce Gracie, Carlos Newton, Sokaju, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, Heath Herring, Mark Hunt, Don Fry, Gary Goodridge, Bob Sapp, Dan Severin, and plenty of others, most of whose names I cannot pronounce. So right off the bounce, the roster, you were spoilt for choice. I know like UFC games have always got a good roster, but this is probably one of my favourite rosters. Like, even low overall fighters, they had their perks. Like Mark Hunt, he was a low overall, but you knew that one punch could end the fight. Like, same with Royce Gracie. You might not have the good stand-up, but the second that shit's on the ground, you are making people tap. The game really felt unique, and Royce Gracie felt like Royce Gracie in terms of the attributes he had. Maybe not like his exact movements, because it was 2012. But fighters like Mark Hunt, I knew if they stepped at the wrong time, bang, they were going to get hurt. I knew with Royce Gracie, if they took me down or I was able to get them to the ground and I took their back or I took the top mount, I knew that their armbar, their neck, their knee, that was going to be mine. And that was one thing I always felt really good about with this game. Same with John Jones. If you switch stance, you unlocked a new set of kicks. You could do, your basic leg kick, your calf kick. You could do your oblique kick. You could do, what's the one when he steps on the kneecap? I can't remember what that one's called off the top of my head. The game felt just better. It really did. Even if we don't like shit on the other UFCs, this game just had so much variety in terms of every fighter's moveset. Every fighter felt different. Dan Henderson, you could really be a nasty wrestler. You could really fucking hurt a motherfucker. Silva, however, you could land a good amount of shots on the ground on someone. You could use those long kicks. The game really felt alive, in my opinion. Then if before we jump into the gameplay, we go through the menus, we have career, which is awesome. You've probably seen a lot of it on my channel. You get a good use of going up and down weights. Like, you can go down and fight Bisping if you're light heavyweight. You can go down to middleweight, or you can go up to heavyweight and fight, whoever's up at heavyweight at the time. Which I just loved. You also get to go to Pride, just do random Pride fights. You get to do Pride Grand Prix, which is just awesome. And of course, you have title mode, where you have to work your way up the ladder to win the belt. You can't lose more than 3 times. Then you have title defense mode, and that's whoever you won title mode with, you can now defend the belt. I've also done a title mode on my channel once before as well. Then you have tournament, which you guys have seen on my channel. Those are just so much fun. Then you have ultimate fight, which if you, play Fight Night or you at the old UFC games, you know what that is. That's just recreating classic fights. Then you have event mode, which is pretty much you make the fight card. One of the last things in the menu besides online and options and tutorial is game progress. Now, I love this. It has 3 things here: game record, mode record, and fight usage. I'm going to go through it here so you guys can see the way it works. And even if I stop the commentary right now, I'm still going to show you guys a good amount, because this is the kind of stat-based detail that I miss. Now, I know there's a lot of people that won't care. The top online fighters of each game, they won't care. But I feel like for us, I feel like a lot of you guys are like me. You enjoy your online, you enjoy playing these games against your friends, you really enjoy your career mode, but you could also be entertained for hours just playing exhibition with different fighters. I feel like a lot of games don't have that vibe anymore. A lot of games you get bored doing that for long, whereas this game was one you could just go and just play exhibition for hours. And that's what this game progress was. It showed you so much. The usage of fighters, the mode, the knockout, submission, decisions, loss, amount of punches landed. It was just incredible. Fighter usage, it was just brilliant. I really love this kind of detailed stat giving. Now let's get into what you've all been waiting for, which is the gameplay. Now we'll start with the standard UFC rules and layout. Of course, you can see, we get to pick the ref, the venue, you get to pick your weight and everything like that. And we can see the gameplay is just smooth. Stand-up is my least favourite part of this gameplay, in all honesty. But you can land big shots that felt powerful and they hurt people. It was just, the head movement was basic. The footwork was basic, but it all worked well. The big hooks, the big uppercuts, they felt like they were doing damage. You could really cut a bitch, and speaking of cuts, you could get the doctor stoppage, which you guys have probably seen on my channel as well. However, of course, we have the ground game, which you probably give like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It's very basic, but it works well for the game. But one thing that you'll always notice with this game is no matter if you're going from the stand-up to the clinch, the stand-up to the ground to the stand-up off the cage, the ground to the clinch off the cage, whatever, it's always smooth. There's never a clunkiness. You never feel clunky. Now we go to the ground game. This is just fucking amazing. We can see one thing that makes it look amazing. I know this is going to sound crazy. Unlike UFC 4, where you have this shitty spoon-fed menu, for starters, you actually have to learn how to play in this game. You actually have to learn the ground game through tutorials, through trial and error. You cannot just get in and just push a right analog stick in the left direction to go into half guard. It just doesn't work like that. But we see here, some of the movements on this ground game are messy, because as much as you may be the perfect jiu-jitsu practitioner, the perfect wrestler, sometimes this shit gets messy. Not everything is the perfect textbook transition. We can see sometimes with the arms, there is both arms when he's holding him. There is one arm when he's holding him. There is one arm one arm in different place. There is, you know, maybe when he's got him in the crucifix, it's not perfectly shin to forearm. It's not always perfect, and that is what I think a lot of people overlook, but that's why people love it. Because in this ground game, you can be a transition master and you can tire out your opponent. However, you can also be a bully. You can beat someone up on the ground with your transitions, using your elbows, your forearm, just to smash them in the head. You can do that. You can really get people stuck and hurt them. And, you know, there's no base transition. And one thing I'm going to show you guys here is this crucifix TKO that I got while recording for this video. Obviously, as you can imagine, I recorded so much gameplay, but I'm probably going to only show you a couple of fights, to be honest, in this video. But you can see there is no, like, go up to knee on belly like in UFC 4. The positions, the ground control stays the same. There is nothing ever forced. Like some transitions, yes, that they are, you know, that like when you knock someone down, the transitions where you know, you'll either have them on their side or, you know, you'll be towering over them. Those are obviously pre-made transitions. We can see with this crucifix, he got me out a few times, but once I hurt him, then that's it. And that's the thing with this ground game, is it's just absolutely perfect. And honestly, this is the closest to flawless you will ever get, in my opinion, in a UFC game. And when it comes to the ground game, I truly believe that this is the greatest ground game you will ever see in a UFC game, and I honestly believe that. Then, of course, we go over to the Pride mode. Now, while you guys have seen a good amount of gameplay there while I was talking, the Pride mode has, you know, the unique set of rules. They allow things like knees to a grounded opponent, soccer kicks when an opponent is down, face stomps. You'll see me get out of a submission and stomp on a face. It's brutal. Of course, we have the different venue, but then you have no elbows. You're not actually allowed to elbow in Pride. But this, you'd be surprised how much this opened up new avenues of gameplay when you're playing. So you play the UFC and you take someone down and you get into the half guard position and you can knee to the body, you can not the half guard, the side control position, sorry. You get into side control, you can knee to the body, you can punch to the head, you can elbow to the head. In Pride, however, you can hook the knee round to the head. You go to north-south in the UFC, you can't do much, maybe a choke. In this, you can knee them in the head in north-south. You get them into the sprawl position in the UFC, you can't do much. You could go for the guillotine, you could punch to the body, you could, I suppose in real UFC, they kind of shimmy to the side. In this game, you can kind of hook under the sprawl. In Pride, you can knee them in the head. You drop somebody in Pride, you drop someone in UFC, sorry, you have to tower over them, start raining down punches. You drop somebody in Pride, you can soccer kick them. You can stomp on their head. You can transition, like I said, to sprawl north-south and knee them in the head. You can get into a postured up side control position when they're hurt and knee them in the face repeatedly. It really opens up a new avenue of gameplay. You'll be surprised. Like when I play Pride for like, I know this is sad, but sometimes I'll just play for like 3-4 hours. But I play Pride for like 3 or 4 hours. Then I go back to the UFC mode and I feel myself feeling restricted. So I have to start fighting maybe a bit more tactical. But then once I'm in the clinch, I can start using my elbows that I wouldn't have been allowed to use in Pride. So it's very different. And it is fantastic. Both of the modes are brilliant, even the standard UFC. The game is just fun to play. It's addictive. And overall, a fantastic game. But that is pretty much the look back for UFC Undisputed 3. Now, while with the online gone, the game does still have the offline UFC, the offline Pride. It has your career mode, your title defense mode, your tournament mode, your ultimate fight, and your event mode, as well as you can check your game progress. Not to mention the brilliantly smooth gameplay from stand up to ground to clinch to ground to ground to stand up to ground, wherever you want to be. The powerful ground and pound that makes you feel like you're actually hurting someone. The ref pulling you off when you actually TKO somebody. Not everything has to be a knockout in this game. There's lots of TKOs. Even when you have your hands up, they can still be TKOs. The game itself is fantastic, and I could have made this. I had to really limit myself with this video because at the minute I've limited myself to about 15 minutes. That's how long I've been recording this commentary for. I really could have easily made this video an hour long. I'm not even joking, but I had to limit myself because I knew I would just talk about this game forever because it's such a well-made game. It's fantastic. It really is. If you have a PS3 and Xbox 360 and you're able to pick this up at your local pre-owned game store, I highly, highly recommend it. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the support on the last look backs. Let me know what game you want me to do next. I'm tempted to do Fight Night 2004. I think that'd be a good one. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And yeah, I miss you, UFC Undisputed 3. I miss you, THQ. I miss you, Ukes, when you guys used to make UFC games. And before I go, guys, fuck EA Sports. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.